back to It Is What It Is. This week's episode is going to be a little bit different because this week we will be joined by the lovely Tara.
You all have been just as excited to hear from Tara as what we are.
You guys have sent in your questions and we will be sure to answer them all.
This episode focuses solely on Tara, her journey, experiences and her tips and tricks to keep positive. Enjoy!
Enjoy!
Okay, so Tara, thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Hello!
Thank you so much for having me. Hello.
Oh, not at all, Tara. We are so excited to have you. I guess we will just start off by getting you to introduce yourself to the listeners.
I'm from Ballycastle, where the girls are from. I'm so honoured. I'm absolutely privileged that the girls think that my story is worthy of sharing and talking about. Most recent and what the girls kind of knew was that I have been fighting brain cancer the last year. So it's called Glioblastoma because it's the stage 4. The worst form, of course, that I could have got. It just means that I have had to have really harsh treatment. I may have to again and again and again in the future. It's a negative prognosis, really. But I don't like to see it that way. I'm definitely gonna be the 4% that survive past, I think it's two or 4 years. You know, I aspire to have a family and to live my life fully. So, you know, I was never going to let that beat me. And I suppose I'll just tell you how or why.
We are going to just start off at the beginning and just get to know a little bit about you. So we had talked to you previously in the week and you had talked to us about how you had been travelling the world. Last week Holly was talking about how excited she was to get on a plane again. So where did you travel to and what was it like?
Yeah, so that was my biggest passion, I suppose. My very first trip ever out of Europe was actually to India. Which is pretty crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, so really a big culture shock and just really made me just want to go everywhere then. I was like, right, I'm doing every continent. I was really excited to just go everywhere. Yeah, I went to India, I went to Canada, I went to America, all like while I was at university. My little treat to myself after finishing uni was going to Southeast Asia, like with really, really best friends. It was hilarious. It was like the best time. Then me and my best friend, like we moved to Australia. We did a year there. I've lived in Canada for a year. You see the experiences I had. So yeah, like India, obviously massive culture shock, different world away. So then my dream always from I was like in primary school, I think, you know, you do the little collections and stuff in school. I always wanted to go to Africa. I didn't mind what country, where, what. I was at university. I trained as a teacher, primary school teacher. And so I went and did like a teaching volunteer thing, a volunteer trip over to Tanzania. And that was probably the best trip I've ever been on. And like it did change my life. So I definitely would say like anybody that's young has the energy to go do it, has the means to go do it, has the time to go do it, like go do it. You see, whenever you're young, because I just was so fearless. I didn't care. Yeah. I was in the craziest situations. Like I was in Colombia a couple of years ago with another really good friend. And we like should have died. Like we were on these crazy like paths. We, you know, when I was in Thailand, we, you know, should have died in this river. Just crazy. And now I wouldn't do it. I'm too scared. I'm like a scaredy cat. So
where have you not been, Tara?
I know. So I actually, when I went to Colombia and Peru in 2018, that was my, you know, I've been to every continent except the Arctic. Like it's crazy.
Oh my God, that's so amazing to be able to say that though, that you've been everywhere.
I'm jealous. I'm so jealous.
I know.
It's such a big part of your life as well. Looking back on that was probably took up majorities of your 20s.
So it took up my whole 20s, but it also took up every penny that I earned. I was working like 3 jobs like most of the time, and then that was going on my travels. I was saving for the next flight. And I don't know if I even did it right, because I was like wanted to see everything. I went to Peru and I wanted to see Machu Picchu, Lake Titicaca, Rainbow Mountain, like everything. And we didn't have much time because I was working then, so you only had like a couple of weeks to go away. I think I went for 3.5 weeks or something, and that was for Peru and Colombia, and like squeezing everything in like crazy.
Yeah.
But
I'm sure it wouldn't change a thing. Like spending all your money on all your trips and your holidays, I'm sure it's all been worth it.
Yeah, and every single year, as the memories start coming up on social media, like we're sending each other every day. There's somebody sending me something like from these trips or whatever. Especially me and my best friend Claire. She's still out there now. She got her citizenship only 2 weeks ago. Yeah, and like and then I'm like laughing, even I'm smiling ear to ear right now, just remembering all my stories and the crazy times, like the things that we got up to. And I wouldn't do it now. Do you know what I mean? Like you do have to do that when like you're young and brave and carefree and probably single.
That's something that you'll always have, money well spent.
What was the main thing, Tara? Like, what made you say, I'm going to go traveling?
Oh, I just have always kind of had that. And my parents didn't go anywhere. They didn't really leave. They've been to Spain and that's it, even still now, So I was like, right, I'm going to change this. Like, we have the chance to do this at this age, and like it's so accessible. And I just
That's right.
It was always my biggest passion. Yeah.
And you touched on there that you lived in Canada for a little while as well, so that's the most recent place you live. So tell us about the reason, and why did you go to Canada? Why did you decide to settle there for a little while?
Yeah, so this is actually pretty crazy to think about. So I had been living in Australia for a year. I got my second year visa. I absolutely loved it. Like it was just so cool. I actually lived up in Darwin for nearly 5 months.
Wow.
I went up there on my own. Yeah, I got my second year visa doing like my regional work, but I was actually working in like a roadhouse, and I had so many friends. It was really good fun. I was going out like off-roading, going out on like boats and stuff, fishing, like doing all this crazy stuff, seeing crocodiles in the wild, going to these hot springs and stuff like on my days off. And then my mum was really sick. She has MS. She's still kicking about now, can't even believe it. But that was 2015, and she was just getting really, really low, like really bad. She was in a wheelchair at that time already, and I just thought it was too far away to stay in Australia. So I came home, I worked for a year, and then I was like, no, I need away again. Whenever you've been away and you've lived away from home, like it's really hard to do. I'm sure a lot of people are finding that right now with the current situation. Yeah, so I applied for a job in Qatar, and I got the job. And I was going to be a year 2 teacher out in Qatar, and I like had a little bit extra money, whatever. And I just went on a trip to go and see my friend. She lives she was living out in Canada at the time in Vancouver. I thought, you know what, I'm going to go do this little trip, and then I'm heading to the other side of the world. I've got a few friends in Australia. I can go visit them as I please, and I can go home. I'm going to be in the middle of the world. I'll be, over in the UAE, and that was perfect for me to get home and see my mom as much as I needed and whatever. And then I went to Canada, and I went to Vancouver, and there's water all around. It's like looks a bit like here, kind of, not really, like on a bigger scale, a nicer, bigger scale. And I thought, right, I think I'm maybe moving here. Like it just was like that. So I went to visit Evine, another Evine, that was, I think it was the start of December, and then the visa opened up on Boxing Day, and I applied that same month, and I was away. I went in the June. So yeah, that was why I ended up going there. And then I met my lovely boyfriend
Aw.
there. Stephen's actually from Monaghan, and we met at the races literally less than a month into me
No way.
arriving in Canada.
Wow.
So it's all meant to be.
Totally meant to be. Like, I really believe that completely, because even with everything then that we've had to go through now and everything, that, you know, I wouldn't have got through it without him. So I really do believe in that. I learned to snowboard only last winter.
Wow.
What? I was snowboarding, you know, down the slopes in Vancouver. Like, unbelievable.
Oh, Tara,
so
you're
good.
making me so
I know,
jealous.
that sounds-
I'll be using.
Hopefully.
So Tara, you were in Canada, you met Stephen at the beginning of your trip, and then how long were you there before you moved back home again?
So I actually had a job, everything. Like, I came home for 3 weeks. It was my mum's 50th birthday. There was no way I was going to miss that. Like, this is a massive milestone for anybody listening that does have a parent with something like MS, or, you know, a degenerative disease or something life changing. They'll know, like, it takes over like your life, and just takes over, you know, everybody in the family. It really does like make a big impact. So I wanted to come home and celebrate that, and it ended up being COVID. COVID hit. So I got flying home. I actually was meant to have an MRI, you see, that came through for like November, and they've rang. I got like my parents to ring, and they said, look, she's living abroad now, because it took like 18 months to come through this MRI.
Oh my
So
goodness.
they were able to get, they said she's coming home in March, because I had them flights booked right from the summer. So can you get her any date in March, and we'll make it work. So came home for 3 weeks so I could go to the MRI and have mum's birthday, and then I didn't get back. I had a car, I had a job, I still have all that, you know, the car and the bags and everything is just still there.
You said that you came back because your mum's birthday, but what made you book the MRI? What pushed that?
So that was okay, so when I was in Australia, so I was working out in this roadhouse, we were booking boat trips, and I started noticing I couldn't write. Like, I'm left-handed, and this had never ever happened. I'm a teacher, so like obviously I'd be writing all the time, and I was trying to like write down the bookings, and I'd be like, oh, sorry, hold on. And my hand wouldn't work. I'd just be like hitting it off my chest and stuff. And I was like, oh, sorry, hold on. I don't know what's going on. I you know, I didn't really think too much about it. Then whenever I was home then for the year after that, I obviously just went to my GP, said to her, you know, don't know what this is. Like, I've doctor friend has told me it might just be carpal tunnel or something. And they were like, okay, because of your mom's history, we'll just check you out a bit further. Referred on to a neurologist in just Coleraine. And then, yeah, she did a few more tests on that left side. And I didn't realise, or it didn't make sense to me, because I could run, I could walk, I could do whatever. But she was, you know, hitting off my knee with the reflex. I don't know, it looks like a hammer.
Yeah.
And it didn't move, and she was like, oh, I'm not happy about this. So she was like, okay, your left side isn't normal. So yeah, she referred me for an MRI then, but they take so long, just the waiting list and everything, and that was me under urgent waiting. So of course I just went on with my life. I wasn't going to like, oh well, I better stay in the country because I've got an MRI in like 2 years time, you know. So I was going to go on to Qatar, and then obviously changed my mind and it's like, sorry, I'm not coming to Qatar, and went to Canada. So that was booked for, I literally went there. I flew home. It was around St. Patrick's Day, and then I had the MRI on the 23rd, and they actually rang me on my lovely Stella Hughes. She works up in Belfast usually. She actually rang me on the 26th. That's my brother's birthday, because that's how I remember it. And she was like, look, we usually would never have these phone calls over the phone. Like, this is awful and scary. But I was sitting on my bed. I was so shocked. I didn't even say anything. I just was kind of like, oh, okay. And she was like, no, Tara, like, this is going to take at least, you know, a year out of your life here. But she probably didn't want to say it that time, if you even get here. But I was just like, okay, but I live in Canada, so when do you think I can go back? Right, well, when can I work? And
You were
all
like,
this stuff. And she was just like, oh, like now thinking about that, I'm actually so embarrassed. Like, she must have been like,
not at
hello,
all.
But
are
of
you
course,
here?
you're not to know. Like, you don't know what goes on after you're told that. Like, you've never been through something like that before, so you're not expected to know. I wouldn't have a clue either. Like,
No, I said, oh, so I don't have MS. Oh, that's good, isn't it?
Oh my
Like,
word.
Yeah. Wait, what age were you when your mum got diagnosed with MS?
I was at university, so that was what, like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So would you say that was probably on your mind, like, that potentially one day that could have affected you or your siblings?
Mm-hmm. So that's actually, we were told that, that daughters especially, it's very hereditary. So that's why I went to Canada. That's why, and I even remember, all my friends know that. I was like, I'm going to Canada, I'm learning to snowboard. And because you just don't know. I was like, I know. Well, I knew myself there was something not right, but like I was still fine and functioning. So I was like, I know I have MS, so I am going to go live my life, and then I'm going to make all the changes I need to make when I get the diagnosis.
And this was just after you felt you were starting to feel a change in your left-hand side of your body. You thought, in your own head, you'd kind of reasoned that it was going to be MS and you were just going to live your life.
Yeah, so, well, not just with the little that, because obviously you kind of think this is probably nothing, but then it was happening more and more whenever I was driving. So obviously then the gear stick's there, and I couldn't feel the gear stick, and this would happen all the time. And I then was doing a job where I had to drive to different houses and stuff. I was an education worker at that point. Then I wasn't working in schools, and all day, every day, I would just feel like my hand was so numb and stuff. But like that was the only symptom really. Now then my headache started getting insane, so then it made me feel like I had migraines, and then I'd be really tired and fatigued. So I just thought, oh well, yeah, sure, that's what happened to mum. Yeah. So you just do presume. But then also, whenever the doctor even was like, okay, straight away, it's this urgent MRI referral, then of course you're just think, okay, well that just does confirm it,
Mm-hmm. So when did you start to really process that actually, whenever you got your diagnosis, that actually this is a brain tumor? When did that start to hit home with you, that was what it was and it wasn't MS?
So to be honest, me and Stephen, so actually Stephen was still out there, obviously, because I only came home for a 3-week trip, and then I couldn't go back. That was me. I was like, okay, I'm actually staying at home, and my life has changed forever. Don't care about all my stuff that's left out there and whatever now. So then we were just trying to get Stephen home. You know what, actually at that point it was, you had to kind of be like, okay, we're going to have these really crazy life chat. Do you want to come home? Do you want to come home to be with me? Like, we've only been together for like not even a year. This is crazy. So yeah, and he was like, no, definitely, like I want to come and be with you through this and whatever. But we both were just like, okay, yeah, we'll go back out, we'll get back to Canada in the summer, or like after the summer. We were both so naive. We're like, oh, it's fine. The first week I came home, he bought a big truck for us to go traveling in the summer. You see, we were going to take a big 3-month trip and just go the whole way across Canada. And that, that was what the dream was. Whenever I even went there, I was like getting up around the Rockies, going and seeing the whole lot of it, because I'd been to Toronto back when I was younger. And then obviously I'd lived in Vancouver. So we wanted to go and see it all. And then it's like, oh, right, we only got that bloody truck. We only got that sold about only about 2 months ago, maybe. Because we obviously we had so many other priorities. But yeah, we both were just so naive to it. We were like, oh yeah, we'll just get through this. And then no, it's actually been so crazy, so tough. And I would say, for me, I didn't actually start processing the magnitude of this until about September. So I went through brain surgery in April. That was awful. Like I had nightmares. Okay, so brain surgery, I went in, like it was ridiculous. I went in with my like nail polish, my face masks, my tweezers. I was like, oh great, like I'm gonna go in here and chill. And I did. The night before the surgery, I was so chill. I had Netflix on my iPad. I had, I had a face mask. I sat and done my eyebrows and all. Thank God I did, because I wasn't able
I
to do
love
anything for
that.
months. And then the surgery, you just can't prepare yourself for that. I'd never even had surgery on a finger, never mind anything else. So I'd never actually been to hospital really. I'd never needed like to go for bloods. There was nothing ever wrong with me. That time I wasn't allowed one visitor. I wasn't allowed anybody to come in or anything. I don't know who was looking down on me, but like one of my really best friends actually works in the Royal Hospital, and she's in the ward like next door, so she would finish her shift and then come in. Like I don't actually know how or if I would have really got through. I was only in there for what, like 3 days, I don't know, 3-4 days after the surgery. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't speak, I couldn't read, I didn't have use of my dominant hand. I had a catheter in, I had a tube coming out of my brain with blood coming out of it, because so it wouldn't clot. And I honestly was like
As anyone would be,
petrified.
Were you very aware, Tara, of like what was going on? You said you couldn't speak or anything like that there, but obviously your brain was functioning, you knew these things, you weren't able to do these things. What was that like?
Oh, Rachel, like when I came to, okay, so hold on, there's actually a nice little story here first. I was out of surgery. It was about 6 hours, the brain surgery, and I think I got the best surgeon in the entire world, actually, Dr. Flannery. He like cut out like 90% of the tumor, and it was the neatest scar. My friend, she's a nurse there 10 years or more, and she literally is like, well, I've never seen anything better. But I've come out of the surgery, and you have to go into the recovery place for like 2 hours just to make sure you're okay and you don't have to go back into theatre. And I kept waking, and then you go back to sleep, and waking and go back to sleep. And there was wee porters around, and they were cleaning up and stuff. That was probably the last of the day or whatever. And I kept going. Well, I couldn't speak, and I really was trying to say like to put on a song, and I just kept on and kept on and kept on. I was trying to say to put on, Fisherman's Blues, that would be like mine and Stephen's song.
Oh.
And I just kept trying to say like fisherman, and then I was like Fisher, and then I'll go back to sleep. I have a Fisher. And anyway, eventually, I don't even know how, but the wee man understood, like just by the very end of the 2 hours, and he put it on, and it was a wee old, like a really old crappy Nokia, and he like let me listen to the whole song, and I just remember like a wee tear coming down my face and going back to sleep again. So anyway, so that was the day after, and to see people like that in hospitals, like they just make all the difference. That's going to be with me for till the day I die. Then you go down to the ward, whatever, and I was starving. You had to fast all day, and then Monica, the nurse, my great angel of a friend, come in, and she brought me a boojum. And there was me trying to eat, scoffing. Actually, she was cutting me the tiniest wee square, and I was like, I couldn't even speak to tell her, but I was like, like more and whatever, and I was scoffing. Oh, the second she left and gone home, I vomited, overindulged. But yeah, so I actually haven't had a boojum since, because can't think about that. But see, the next day, like you're told, right, get up, we need to see if you can walk, we need to see this, that, the other. And I was like, no, like I had all these things like in my body. I had like 2 different cannulas. I had the catheter, had that brain, the brain drip was just the worst. Can't even cope with that, even thinking about that now. But things like that, and you're expected to get up and like walk and show the physio. You had to like go and get wheeled up for like quick scans and stuff of your brain, and they're wheeling you like, because obviously they're on time scale and whatever, they're wheeling you so fast, like battering through the corridors. Actually, they had to do that in the middle of the night as well, like a quick CT scan, and you have to go up to like maybe 3 floors up, and even going up and to go into the lift and stuff, like it's, I mean, excruciating, because obviously I just had brain surgery, and then the bed is going over the wee bumps and stuff to go into the lift. And all those things, like they were with me for so long. Like I used to try and go to sleep and I would just have nightmares, or it would just be in my head, you know, I would just see it all the time and just be, like have to like cry. Like I would, Stephen would be he was so good. Like he would like cuddle me in, and that was for a very long time. It was just so scary. It was really bad, just because it was my biggest fear anyway, you know. Even that first night, whenever I woke up, because you were asking if I was like aware, the first night I woke up, I had asked them specifically, please don't put any of the cannulas in my hands. Like I cannot cope with veins and stuff. It's my biggest fear. And they're like, oh yeah. But obviously, like they're going to do wherever they can get the vein. They're going to do like whatever's quickest and like safest and stuff like that. And I woke up and I had one in my arm over here, and I had one on my hand. And they had to keep coming and checking my reflexes. So they kept pushing my hand back, and I was screaming. And I was like in a ward, and even the next day then, because I was there for a couple of days, and I ended up making friends with one of the lovely girls across from me. Like we're still in touch now. And she was like, oh, like you had a crazy bad night. And I was like, yeah, because they had that cannula in my hand. I wouldn't go to sleep until they would take it out. I think actually Monica, the nurse, had said to the doctor, you're going to have to take that out. She's not going to be okay until you change that, put it somewhere else. Because I did have to have in and stuff. But I mean, screaming, I'd be like, oh no, like I can't look at this.
That must be so frustrating, not being able to like speak and like tell people like how you're feeling. Like that must be the most frustrating thing ever.
I was crying. I just was, even now, even thinking back to, like, it's making me like my whole body is like tensing up and like shaking, even just at the memory of it. I know I do have like a little bit of PTSD.
Yeah.
So I was determined to get these things out of me. Like, I honestly could not breathe. Honestly, my breathing was like until they got all the tubes out of me. Like, fair enough, then I had to keep the cannula then until the second I was leaving. You see, while I had that catheter in, and that brain drip, the brain drip was the worst, because they took me up for the MRI the second day. Just because I know they were rushed and stuff, but like they let it like swing about and everything, and it was hanging out of my brain, and I was like, I was like trying to say like, give me that, but I couldn't speak, I couldn't even breathe. I literally was like gesturing to them like, give me that, like, and I just held it like so tight against my chest then to go for the MRI. And I can just remember that so clear, like they were putting me across the bed and onto the bed for the MRI, and like they were having to go so quick because like they obviously had like a lift. The catheter bag like burst, like honestly it was that was honestly hell on earth.
The only way I can think how horrible that would be is when you have a dream and you're trying to scream in a dream and you can't scream or run. Like, that's how I imagine that would feel, except 10 times worse.
Like, honestly, that is what it was like. And then you think, okay, right, well, that's done. Okay, great, this is fine now. I just have some treatment to do. I'm going to be at least at home. I can go back and forth to the hospital and do that. And then actually radiotherapy in the summer was the very worst time of my life. It's so different for everybody. So they can't tell you that it's going to be as bad as it is, because some people breeze through it. Like where my tumor was, it's like right by the skull, and it was so big and stuff. So they had to like really blast like such a big area and really close to the surface and stuff. So I was having I only about 2 weeks in, because I had to have it end up being about 7 weeks with a couple of what do we have? We had the bank holidays and stuff. So it ended up being nearly 7 weeks of the radiotherapy, and that's alongside chemotherapy. So you're having to like wake up at, sometimes I was having to get up at like maybe 6-7 in the morning to eat something because then you have to fast for a couple of hours before you go for your treatment, which that was hell, because you're so exhausted and you just think, all right, yeah, okay, like go have a nap. No, like until you have fatigue because of like a chronic illness, you just can't know. I still, I'm like, what, like how is that real life? So that was all in the summer months, and it was so hot, and you know, it was like really nice days outside, and I was just there being like, Stephen, close them curtains, like, so like make it so dark for me, like I can't cope. And I couldn't hardly even like walk or like move from like the bedroom to the living room and stuff. I was just like so exhausted. So then imagine getting in the car to go to treatment and stuff. Oh, and that's up in the city hospital. And you have to do that every single day. But the radio, after about 2 weeks for me, I just started, like, my head actually swole up, like full on was like swollen, you know, like something out of like Star Trek or something. Whenever I actually got my MRI and like they found it, they were like, how are you not having seizures like every day? Like, we don't understand, you know. And I still will never know. I think it was probably just because I was like living my very best life at the time, and I was quite yes, I did probably drink a lot, but I was quite healthy eating. When I was in Canada, I didn't like the meat there really, so I didn't really eat that much meat or anything, so I was kind of like vegetarian, maybe not all the time of course, but so I don't know how I got away with that. I never had seizures and stuff. If that happens, then you're usually medicated for the rest of your life, and you probably can never drive and stuff like that.
And Tara, you talked about your mum there. Do you think she was a really good help to you going through this? Do you think that obviously her having gone through something similar, she was able to, you know, support you and help you probably more so than what anyone without an illness like that could have?
Yeah, definitely. You know, it kind of ended up being the running joke, like whose symptoms were worse at some point. And, you know, we would just always find a way to like kind of laugh about it. And we always were close, and we always could have said whatever we wanted. But I think now there's just absolutely zero, there's nothing to be, there's nothing hidden. Like there's nothing to hide or nothing to keep secret, you know?
It's like a different level of understanding, isn't it, Tara? Like, is it just at that next level of, I get you?
Totally. Probably more so, like, it was really eye-opening for me. You know what? There's been so many blessings from my illness, because I now actually can understand all the things that she's had to go through for so many years, and the things that she's been feeling for years, and you're kind of like, oh, you know, you could nearly like roll your eyes at it, but it's so real. I just even think though, like this illness for me has made me even go, whoa, like feeling really like kind of empathetic to like anybody or everybody's situation, you know. You don't have to end up having like this crazy, you know, diagnosis or you know, something even like that. Like some people's parents, there's a lot of like friends of mine and everything, you know, their parents have like alcoholism, they have mental health. It's just really made me go, whoa. I was just like zooming around, going everywhere, doing whatever I wanted, like having the best time. But like there's so many people that are having a really, 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 really tough time. So no, it has like really made me, it's just grounded me a lot more. I actually am feeling like, okay, no, like it was all meant to be. It's all happened for, and you know what? In the name of your podcast, it is what it is.
Yes.
Like, I've learned so much from it. I actually just feel like really blessed for all the learning I've done, and for being able to go, oh, okay, for mom and stuff, like she actually does like really need that or this or whatever, and if she doesn't get that or this, or if she isn't made feel a certain way or whatever, like it's really, it affects her whole day or like her whole week or whatever, you know, because she's not really able to do very much, or you're very like restricted or whatever. Like even with me not being able to drive and stuff right now, I'm like, oh, like sometimes I just want to go and jump in the car and go for a walk by myself or whatever, but like I just can't do that. I'm not allowed to go and drive down to the beach by myself, you know.
And how would you have said as well, Tara, so like your family as well, how did they take it? Because you know, you're so strong, you're so positive, and you've got this really amazing outlook on life, but you know, the people around you, how are they feeling? How have they dealt with this, or did they talk to you about that sort of thing?
Yeah, I mean, even if they maybe didn't want to talk about it, I would not let them away with not talking. That's the only way that I've got through this, is by talk and talk some more, cry and cry some more. Like, I'm really, really lucky that way. Like, my family, even Stephen's family, like all my friends are just so open, and I can kind of like talk and share and say how I'm feeling and whatever. I do know, even still sometimes, like, my parents, like, they're maybe just really hopeful, or they don't want to think the worst, so they're always like, oh no, when it, I went down from that phone call with the neurologist that day, and I was so calm, I didn't even cry or anything at that point. I was just like, okay, so it's not MS. That's good, isn't it? Oh yeah, that's good. And so I've got a brain tumor, but they're gonna do surgery in a couple of weeks and it's fine. And then Mom just started crying. Dad was like, right, okay, like, I think he started going on about, like, we'll remortgage the house, we'll get you private treatment right now. And I'm like, what?
That's just dad, isn't it? Dads are so like informative and like, this is how we're going to do it, and then mums are just like the emotional one.
Isn't that funny how their reactions were so different as well?
Yeah, that's always the way it is. Like, he's just so practical. Or just, another thing, you see, if you start crying in front of him, I'm going out to make a cup of tea, I'll make tea. I can't have that. Like, it breaks his heart, But yeah, so Mom, she just the hand went up to the mouth and the tears just started, and yeah, she just was absolutely gutted for me, obviously. But I sometimes feel like that's why I'm so strong, because I have to be strong for them. Like, do you know what it is actually? I think I've learned in the last few months anyway that I had a lot of things I had to overcome. So I have like really good resilience or whatever. Like, I had, I lost somebody that I really loved whenever I was like, 18? Yeah, like 18. Like the first like big death or whatever, like in your life and whatever. And then with Mum's illness, we've always, so Mum ended up getting sick, and she went in the wheelchair, but we always had like my Uncle Robert living with us. He had cerebral palsy from birth, which is Mum's twin. So he was in a wheelchair and he lived with us. And I just think things like that, like, just build up your resilience, and then you're kind of like, okay, well, I actually can get through this. Like, I can, I've probably, I'm ready for this or whatever. I don't even know how or what. I also just feel like I just felt so lucky to have met Stephen when I was in Canada, and that he wanted to come home and like go through this with me, and I had him by my side the whole way. And like, my friends are unreal as well. And my brother Zach, he flew home from Australia. He was out as well. Me and him got dropped to the airport the June before, for me to go to Canada and him to go to Australia the year before. And he landed home the very night that I got out of my surgery. He landed home. Can you imagine, like, the tears? Like, it was just, I fell on the floor at the back door, just like crying, sobbing. Like, I just feel so lucky. Like, I honestly am the luckiest girl in the world. Like, how else can I
family
get on?
And friends like supporting you, and how you're so lucky in that aspect. But I just also think that you have got such a positive outlook and a great personality, and that's just what is I don't know if you've had like your past as well, and that's maybe why you've got like a fight in you as well. But I do think it's just your absolute positivity that just shines out of you as well. So I think it's on you as well, Tara, and you're so lucky to have your family and your friends, but it's all on you. It's that fighting personality that you have.
And you know what, I feel so good after talking to you every single time, because I just feel like I can conquer the world after talking to you. Like, I can do anything.
Oh, thanks, girls. Like, I obviously don't see that. Like, that's just, I'm just being me. I'm just getting on. And like what I keep saying, I get like messages like every day being like, whoa, like, you're so inspirational. Keep going. Like, you're amazing and you inspire me. And I'm like, I am here being a lazy sod. I swear, I am lying on the sofa most days being like, oh, Stephen, please get me this. Like, I'm no inspiration. But I mean, I suppose if I really do think about it, or I try and put myself out of the situation, like, I'm only doing it because I can see, like a really bright future, and like I want that future. I did say to my mom, and can you imagine, gosh, the tears, like I was like, Mom, honestly, like I have had the most amazing life. Like I have pretty much done everything I really want to do. Like if I do go now, like it's okay, it's actually okay, but I'm not going anywhere. So stop this, like stop. I know I'm not going anywhere. I can see the wedding and the kids, and like just I know that it's going to happen for me, and sure, if it doesn't, like that was what was meant to be. And yeah,
you have a smile on your face every day, like, and I think that's why everyone is saying to you, like, you're such an inspiration, because you just have like a wee lovely smiley face all the time, even after all your awful stories that you've told us about in your chemo and everything. So I think that's definitely what it is.
You mentioned Stephen a few times in this podcast. Is he a great support to you? Would you say he was?
He is the only reason I'm getting through this. Like, yes, of course, my family, my friends have been amazing, but if I couldn't like visualize that and know what we have to want to want to have that for the future, or like want to just get even deeper with that with him, I wouldn't have fought. I wouldn't have, honestly. Like at some points I just got far too tired and far too sick, and I too weak, and my bloods were too low. I had to like take weeks off and stuff and rest and whatever, and get antibiotics and like stuff like that. And I was just like, oh, but then he would just be so good. Like he would always like just pull out the bag or just make me feel better, or every day like he would make me like even have a wee smile through my tears or whatever. See the days that I'm not online, or I'm just sharing a wee meme or whatever, that I am not positive that day, then I am probably crying in a dark room most of the day, or I'm like, oh, I'm so sore, oh, I don't feel well. I'm trying to like find a little bit of light in every day, or I'm trying to have as many good days as there is bad days. But what I had to kind of realize very quickly was we're kind of having like, it's kind of taking it hour by hour, and like Stephen has been so good at that, kind of judging that, or like going on that wave with me. And so I'll actually tell you now, like this is our like this is like secret, but he doesn't care, and he doesn't even have social media or care about anything. So yeah, we're like complete opposite. And I don't know what you think, you are all in relationships and stuff, but so I was single my whole 20s. I just was so, nope, it just didn't interest me. You see, unless they are amazing and add value to my life, or make me feel like, oh, I can conquer the world like with this person, I didn't care. I was happy to be an old cat lady on my own. I honestly was like, if they are not fucking amazing, I don't want them. Like, so yeah, I met him at the races. We were, half pissed and whatever. We had our first kiss on a bus shelter, trying to get back into town. Anyway, too much information because his sisters will definitely
no, we love it.
but yeah, and we just had so much crack. You see, the whole day, even the day that I met him, I just thought, great, like a new friend or whatever, like just because I was meeting loads of different ones that month. It was my first month living there, and I was like, oh, this is great. And then we all went to like an after party and stuff, and of course then he got up, and his thing is he sings Robbie Williams. He will go up. He is so quiet all day, his whole life. And then when he gets a few drinks in him, he gets up and he will take the microphone off, like literally off a paid band or whatever, and be like, oh, sorry, just one song, even just a chorus. And he gets up and he sings whatever. So I was like, he is hilarious, like great, he's a bit of me, whatever. And then now that's what I can't even, it just actually even makes me so emotional. Like I'm so proud of us for like getting through this together. I always was like, do you ever feel like you should feel like yin and yang, and like if we're not feeling like that, it's horrible, and you're like, no, like what's going on, why are we not in balance? Like, no, this is so that obviously happened a lot throughout this, like the way I was feeling, the way I felt, like I lost all like my hair all front, and the all at the very top, and all is completely like bald, like really like sore scabby head. and I just felt really ugly and just everything. And sometimes we get really out of balance, and sometimes he was like really down and it was hard for him, and so he was the one out of balance or whatever. So I would always be like, but Stephen, like, oh, I'd like freak out and be like, no, like the yin and yang, like it's not like, why are we like, we're separated right now? And he'd be like, no, like Tara, you need to see it as like a seesaw. And I just thought, oh my goodness, like that's amazing. Like I really, I carry that with me now, and
That's
I
a great
tell
analogy.
everybody that. I'm like, think like, the balance is nil, but like sometimes I'm like so up here, I'm like crazy, like freaking out. I am hating myself, or I'm hating how I feel, or I'm just so hyper stressed. And then he's like down there waiting for me to come back down. Other times he gets like really just bored, and he can't get to his football, he can't get seeing his friends and whatever, so he gets sometimes the swing goes the other way, and that's okay. Then I'm down there going, oh, it's okay, like I'm here for you, I'll make dinner today or whatever. And like it's unbelievable. I don't know how we've done it. I'm just so proud of us. And that's what I'm saying, like he's younger than me. I think I was saying that too when we chatted before. Like I've got myself a toy boy, but he's got like a lot of wisdom, and he really grounds me. Like he really keeps me so calm, and we're completely 1,000,000% like just like completely fit that yin and yang thing. But of course there's loads of days, or even just a wee hour out of the day, that swing goes up and down, and like that's okay. And people in relationships need to like realize that, and kind of maybe also communication too. Like he wouldn't be a big talker, but I am, so I just make him, I'm like, we need to talk and get to the bottom of this. And like, here she goes again.
I think that's men in general, they just don't talk.
And it's so lovely to hear he's grounding you and saying, actually, it's like this, Tara, and that isn't something always men would come out with. So he does sound
you've got
very
yourself
wise
a good
beyond
one.
his years, for sure.
I'm so lucky, and honestly the luckiest girl in this whole planet.
That makes me, I love, like that just makes me so happy.
I would say that is a massive thing. Like you see, for any girls out there that are like, where is he? I definitely was at the point where I was like, I've literally been single for like, I don't know, 6-8 years. I don't know. And was just like, well, there isn't somebody out there for me that is going to make me happy. And I was never going to just settle. I would have went on 1 or 2 dates and then I'd be sick. Like I'd be like, nope, like you are not for me, gone. One of my good friends, Laura, she says, cutthroat Tara strikes again. Nope. But whenever you find the right one, like it's such a cliche, and I never believed it before, but like
you just know,
you just know, and it will all fall in place. So for like people that stay in those wrong relationships and stuff, like like you don't have to do that. You just don't deserve that. There's somebody out there craving your love that will make you laugh every day, no matter how you're feeling. And like you deserve 100%. That so much. So yeah, that's just a big thing.
Definitely. And they always say, somebody comes, the person that's right for you will come when you're least expecting it, or when you're not looking for them.
That's so true. I really
that's
believe
definitely
that.
The case for you, Tara. You just found each other when you least expected it.
Yeah, least expect it. And I actually I pushed it away, for a while. I was like, what? No, I've just arrived, and kind of like, yeah, we went dating and stuff in the summer and whatever. But I was kind of like, what? Like, no, I've just arrived here. Like he knows. Honestly, I just was like, he's too young for me. Like I never said I would go for a younger man, because my brother is only 2 years younger than me. Like can't, but no, that's just ridiculous to even think about, because he's just so perfect for me. And like I just honestly wouldn't have got through. I would not have got through this without him. He's been my absolute rock.
Well done, Stephen.
Unreal.
There's a Stephen out there for everybody.
Yeah, and he's the hero here. Like it's not me. He's the one that should be getting all this, like, you're an inspiration,
So Tara, we popped up a question box at the beginning of the week, which allowed the listeners to ask you any questions that they might have. The first one reads, what would be a good aromatherapy oil for someone who would like to relax or unwind?
For a beginner to relax, well, see oils like lavender or the minty ones like peppermint or
Okay.
spearmint. They're what you call it, adaptogenic. Big word. They're adaptogenic oils, so they kind of adapt to whatever you need them to do, or they'll go and do whatever, you know, you go into your body whatever way you need them. But I think to actually, for specifically to relax, the really woody, tree, earthy kind of ones, I made a blend up with cypress and sandalwood and, you know, loads of like tree ones, frankincense and stuff, because they're apparently really grounding and make you feel, you know, kind of, oh, it's okay, I'm all at one with the earth.
Yeah.
And like almost like they're the sleepy kind of ones, you know.
Another question reads, what gets you through a bad day?
What gets me through a bad day? I suppose I just need to like I said before, I just need to take a breath. I need to maybe try, if it depends what mood I'm in that day. If I feel like I could, I will try and do like a wee stretch, or you know, I probably wouldn't be up for doing like a full-on yoga session, but like I do think getting outside, getting especially out in nature, if I go up the forest or go down to the beach, like usually like that's me instantly clear-headed. But a big massive hug, like just a big massive tight hug, and it has to last for like what, at least 30 seconds. I think I read somewhere, and that's at least what I tell Stephen. I'm like, I swear I read it somewhere, it has to be 30 seconds, otherwise we don't get the endorphins.
It has to be 20 minutes long. Hug me.
Yeah, that's a really good one, actually.
You see, if it's like a really, really bad day and I'm just like mute, you know what I actually love watching? This Is Us. I don't know if anybody's seen it or whatever.
Yep. We've all watched it.
There's so many series that I actually am only on season 2, because see, every time I get my chemo, I can't watch things. I end up like foggy brain. I can't concentrate. I can't read, like, you know, I can't, things like that. So I just don't want to do anything really. And then Stephen reads to me instead. But every single episode, I cry my eyes out, probably from about 10 minutes in till the end. And then that's me. I'm like so uplifted. I just needed that big cry. I don't know, my
So
gut.
definitely, if you're having a bad day, just allow yourself to cry if you want to cry.
Yeah, no, that is definitely what I would say. Like, you have to just let it out. If you don't, it's just causing those little blockages in our body, and like that is the very last thing we need. Like, that's how you end up getting sick, like I did.
Next one is from a student, and it reads, I'm a radiotherapy student. Did you feel comfortable with students when on treatment? As a student, I sometimes feel as though I don't do enough and sometimes slow up the patient's treatment. What is your opinion?
No, I actually was kind of secretly glad when I would see students coming in sometimes, because can you imagine, like, you're just on this big conveyor belt. So if them coming in makes it kind of slow down a bit for me as the patient, I was delighted. I was like, oh, great. And whenever I was going to radiotherapy, I brought a cuddly toy. So my friend sent me over as soon as I got diagnosed. It was a squishy seal. And I called it Tomo because I named my tumor Tomo. So this was Tomo, and I brought that because so I suppose people don't really know this, because I had the brain tumor in the head. My radiotherapy was obviously to the head, so I had to get a big mask made, a big plastic. Well, probably wasn't even plastic. I don't know what it was. Big mesh mask made that clipped to the bed, and then all over my face. My eyes had to be shut so tight. My forehead was squished down in, and like my eyebrows and all. And then you're up and you get risen up, you know, into the thing. And so whenever I'd go in, and there would be like a new student there or somebody that I hadn't met before, and they were like, oh, like, what's your, I don't know, they would, you know, they'd be like really nice and be like nervous and stuff. So then I would always be asking them, how are you getting on with your treatment and stuff? And then I actually felt like, oh, I actually have a bit more time to like get myself ready and up onto this bed, you know. No, I really didn't mind it at all. And it was actually really nice to chat to them, knowing like they're probably actually shitting themselves more than I even am right now.
What is one piece of advice you would have for your younger self?
massive regrets that I did do so much like overthinking and just running around like an absolute crazy, I don't even know what. I just I don't think I was like really living in the now. I was just constantly what's next, what's next, how can I get there. Like I would have been, you know, away on them like amazing trips, being like chatting and maybe even looking up things for like my next trip. Like who does that? It's actually ridiculous. So I would just say, you know, enjoy every little thing, enjoy it, whatever comes up for you, just go with it, like it's all meant to be. It actually is. And you can't know that at the time. Whenever I was younger, like I used to think, you know, I used to feel really, oh no, like I'm not as good as like this one or that one, or I'm so ugly compared to this one or that one, or like I'm not as smart or whatever, or, you know. And like, who cares? Like, really, who cares? Like, in the grand scheme of things, whenever we actually are on our deathbed, are we going to go, oh no, I was like an ugly, spotty teenager? No. Do you know? I just think, yeah, really, that's what my little page is all about. It's, I've called it like Behind the Rainbow, because you can't know that. Like, you do think the worst in yourself. You just think, oh no, I could be better. But actually, like, whenever you get past that and all the insecurities, and you can allow yourself to be like vulnerable and just let it flow, whatever happens. Like, oh, it's going to happen anyway. It just depends on how I react to it. Oh, like it's just so empowering. It's like, wow, this life is great, you know. So yeah, I would just tell her like, calm down, slow down. Who cares? Like, advice. Nobody cares like what you become or what happens.
Question is, what are your top tips in staying so positive throughout this? And she's also wrote, P.S. have been so excited for this episode.
Oh, so cute. So, well, I suppose just staying positive is surrounding myself by like the best people. You know, I've definitely learned. So I used to be kind of like a people pleaser, and I would always feel bad about like not replying or about showing up and stuff. But I'm kind of now like I have to like look after me, and I stay positive by like checking in with myself first. Every single morning I'll be like, oh, like I nearly do like a little quick body scan and be like, how am I feeling? And you see if I'm feeling any way like rough or like a bit sore or achy or sick or whatever, I'm like going to take like some time for me to like sort that out before I can get on with my day. I actually put my phone on airplane mode overnight, so I do. And that doesn't go off airplane mode until I feel okay. I mean, obviously that's not going to, everybody can't do that because they're obviously working and stuff like that. But I know it's so important to look after yourself. Like, you can't pour from an empty cup. And that's what I've really had to like stop and like learn, you know, you just can't keep going at 100 miles an hour and stuff. So yeah, I'm just staying positive by looking after myself, having loads of baths, just trying to see a tiny little glimmer of good in every day, having a laugh with Stephen or like my friends, or getting to hang out like with my little sister, like whatever I can kind of do. And you just need to be really grateful that we can do that, you know.
Another question, do you think people have reacted differently towards you since your diagnosis?
I think that people kind of already knew I was a bit of a tough cookie. You know, people that knew me, they kind of were like, you can get through this. And that would have even been at times when I didn't realize I could, and it would actually like piss me off, you know. Like, I'd be getting loads and loads of messages and stuff in the summer of when I was having that worst time ever in radiotherapy. I would get loads of like messages of like, yeah, like you're the strongest person I know, and I didn't feel one bit strong. I just felt, you know, this is the only way that I can kind of describe it. I'm usually a very, very bubbly, out there, big firework, big bonfire of a person, right? And then in like at that time I just felt like a little tiny candle, you know, a wee birthday candle. I just felt so not me. So then people will be sending me messages like that, and the amount of beautiful like cards and presents and stuff I was getting, and I was like, I know I'm not strong, I'm so not strong. But I suppose like now in hindsight, like I'm just I you know, I know why, and I obviously can understand I would be probably the exact same and everything. But it was just, even whenever we went down to the co-op in the town, and there was a few like teachers from my school and whatever I seen, and they were like looking at me like feeling so sorry for me, and they were like, you know, even one of them come up and was like, oh, like it's great to see you. You look after her to Stephen. And I just wanted to cry and just go to the car. Do you know what I mean? Because I was like, oh, like I'm fine, like, you know, but I wasn't fine. I was not fine.
If somebody is going through something like what you're going through, how should people approach them? Like, what's the best way to approach somebody who's going through something like this?
I think recently I've had a few friends, you know, that have lost people, like that they really, really loved and stuff. And I think of it, it's really nice to do a gesture. Like we've sent flowers, and I'll always like send like wee memes and stuff. It depends really how much you know them, doesn't it? Like if it's somebody like close to you, or that you know you don't really have to have like big boundaries with or whatever, I would just say, I suppose you kind of have to take it at their pace. But it's just, yeah, I suppose just let the person act how they need to act. Do little subtle like nudges in the right direction, or like just let them know that you're there for them if you need. But I did find it quite stressful sometimes if I would have had like some people messaged and it would be like loads and loads of messages, or like loads of questions. And remember, I couldn't read very good at the time. I've had to reteach myself like reading, writing, I mean from scratch. I couldn't, if I seen the word yes, the Y didn't make sense to me. I would like see it as like a U, and I'd be like, but I don't know how to spell, how do I spell? I don't know what that's saying, like why that doesn't make sense. And I had to completely retrain my brain and stuff. So I had like people that were maybe messaging too much sometimes, or like asking loads of questions, and like it actually stressed me out, because then I felt bad, like I wanted to get back and whatever. But then I suppose that's just where I've learned now just to have boundaries, and just like, oh well, like I'll reply when I reply, and surely they understand. And now that I'm in a more sane mind, I now do know, of course, people won't expect me to reply straight away, or it's fine if I even take like 3 weeks to reply, and then I'm like, oh sorry, was going through chemo, and of course they're fine, you know. But that was just all a big process I had to learn. I mean, I would have cried some days because I was getting so many messages, and I'd be like, oh, and then I would just give my phone to Stephen, or like if there was a friend with me or whatever, and they'd be like, maybe
the best part of that would just be if somebody is checking it, just check in, send a little meme or like a little message just saying like, I'm thinking about you, love you, like hope you're okay, just something like that, rather than the questions. Even though if you think you're doing good, just to check in, don't ask the questions maybe.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I see when because I still get messages all the time of like, you know, keep going and stuff like that, and like, oh, of course, that every single time it brings a smile to my face. It like really makes me feel like so loved. And if I'm honest, I didn't know about this before. I didn't realize this was a real thing. But you know, I was saying there before about I kind of did this learning on like energy and stuff. I have actually physically felt like love, like actually like love and healing going into my body because of all this like well wishes and love and cards and everything. And like every single one of them cards, I mean, our mental place up in the other room was covered. There must have been over 100 cards, like, and they were all so bright and happy and, you know, unreal. So I'm actually making a scrapbook now with all them, like through on days that I am feeling a bit low. So like I would definitely say, you know, because I get it, like it's, you don't know what to do or you don't know what to say. Yes, you might want to know everything, but you need to like realize like it's probably really hard to like even talk or share, or even the person hasn't probably even processed it yet. So then like my friends now would say, and like they realize, oh okay, because now I do share everything on social media, or I'll share it to them in like private in our wee groups and stuff. But I maybe wasn't ready to at that time, or like I didn't know what was going on with me at the time. So you know, maybe don't ask like the big questions and don't want to know what's next, because I can't even process it myself. So just I suppose let people know like you're thinking about them, that you love them, because you actually feel it. Like you literally you get a hug almost from every well wish, and then like you'll share whenever you want.
Tara, thank you so much for coming on today. It's been an absolute pleasure. I know it's been very strange trying to navigate online, but you have done such an amazing job, and I just want to start by saying thank you so much for, coming on and being so open and trusting us with your story.
Yeah, I have enjoyed listening to you so much. It's been amazing.
It's been so interesting to listen to you tonight, Tara. It's been amazing.
And Tara, you speak so lovingly and openly about all your amazing family members and friends, and it's clear how important they have been to your journey. But I'm such a strong believer that, you attract what you put out there, and I'm sure your family and friends and your lovely partner Stephen would agree that you are as much a strength to them as what they are to you. So give yourself credit, Tara. You just radiate strength and confidence, and I know any listener that is listening in this week will definitely take something away from this podcast, because I know I surely have.
I know, thanks so much. I know they do keep saying it, like, what, like, how are you doing this? You're the one that I'm supposed to be comforting, and you're comforting me, but that's who I am, and that's what makes me tick. Like, that's what makes me happy, and that's what is keeping me going, so you know what, that's what my wee page is all about. Behind the rainbow, all there is love.
Sleepers and the burning of the cold.